Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question. How many of you have dreams so big, so bold that they scare you just thinking about them? Now, I want you to be honest with yourself. How many of you have been holding yourself back with excuses? Excuses about time, money, talent, or circumstances? Let me tell you something. The moment you stop making excuses is the exact moment your power begins to rise. That's right. Power starts when excuses end. You see, excuses are like invisible chains. They weigh you down, slow you, and whisper lies into your ear. You can't do this, not now, maybe later. But here's the truth. Those chains only have power if you allow them. Every successful person you admire, every story of triumph is a story of someone who stopped blaming, stopped waiting for perfect conditions, and took action anyway. Power doesn't come to the hesitant. It comes to the decisive. And the fuel for decisiveness, accountability, courage, and relentless action, let me give it to you straight. Life will always give you reasons to say, I can't. But the most powerful people don't live in the world of can't. They live in the world of how can I. Every time you make an excuse, you rob yourself of growth, income, opportunity, and impact. But every time you choose action over excuse, you step into authority over your own life. The good news is, your circumstances do not define you. Your choices do. And the very moment you decide to stop explaining why you can't is the moment you step into the person you were born to be. Think about it. What could you achieve if excuses were off the table? How much money, influence, or freedom could you build if you simply did what needed to be done regardless of fear or doubt? Power is not a secret. It's a result. It is the result of saying, I will do it anyway, even when it's hard, even when no one is watching, even when your mind is begging for an excuse. That is the secret to unstoppable momentum. And that is how lives are transformed. Let me start by asking you something very simple, but pay attention because this might change your life. How many of the limitations in your life are real, and how many of them are just stories you're telling yourself? That's right. Most of the things holding you back aren't circumstances, they're excuses. They're invisible chains wrapped tightly around your potential. And the strangest thing is, you are the one keeping those chains in place. You see, every excuse you make is a decision, not a reality. It's a choice to stay small, to delay your greatness, to allow fear and doubt to run the show while your dreams sit quietly on the sidelines. Think about it for a moment. Every successful person you admire has faced challenges, setbacks, and impossible odds. But there's one thing they never did. They never let excuses define them. They didn't wait for the perfect moment, the perfect conditions, or the perfect team. No, they chose to act, to push, to rise. The very moment you stop making excuses is the moment you reclaim your power. Power doesn't ask for permission, it only answers action. If you're waiting for a better day or a sign from above, I have news for you. That day may never come. Power is born in the decision to move, even when conditions are far from perfect. Here's a reality check. Every excuse you make, no matter how small it seems, has a cost. It costs you progress. It costs you confidence. It costs you opportunities that will never return. And the scariest part is, excuses compound over time. One day of saying, I'll start tomorrow, turns into months, even years of untapped potential. The chains tighten, and before you know it, you've convinced yourself that you're limited, not by circumstances, but by your own hesitation. Ask yourself honestly, how much of your life has been stolen by reasons why you couldn't instead of actions you would? And here's the truth. Excuses are seductive because they give you the illusion of control. UT. Yourself, I can't because of this, or I'm not ready because of that, and suddenly you feel justified, you feel safe. But safety is the enemy of growth. Comfort keeps you small. It whispers sweet lies like tomorrow is fine, or I'm not ready yet, while your dreams are screaming for action. The difference between those who live ordinary lives and those who leave legacies is simple. The latter refuse to stay comfortable, and they refuse to let excuses chain them down. Here's a hook I want you to remember. Every excuse is a leash you place on your own potential, and every time you refuse it, you grow stronger. Excuses are not external. They live inside you, in your mind, in the stories you tell yourself about why you can't. The chains are not real, but the consequences are. Every opportunity lost, every skill untapped, every relationship unfulfilled, they are the cost of excuses left unchecked. And the beauty of it is, breaking free doesn't require magic. It doesn't require perfect conditions. It only requires a decision to say, no more excuses. I will act, I will move, I will grow. Once you make that decision, you will start to notice something incredible. The chains weaken every time you take responsibility. Each action, each step forward, each I can you speak aloud is a hammer strike against the chains that have held you captive. Your mind begins to shift. Fear begins to shrink. Momentum begins to build. The more you act, the freer you feel, and the more power you reclaim, the more excuses lose their grip. You realize that the only thing that ever stood between you and your success was a series of decisions you had the power to change all along. Now imagine a life where excuses have no hold over you, where your actions define your story, not your fears. That life is not a dream, it's waiting on the other side of the chains. The only question is, will you break them? Because the moment you do, the moment you refuse to let excuses control your destiny, that is the moment your true power finally begins to flow. And the amazing thing is, once you experience it, you'll never settle for anything less again. Let me ask you something. How often do you look at your life and blame someone else for where you are? How often do you say, if only my boss was different, or if only I had more time, or if only my circumstances were easier? Listen to me closely, because this is where most people get trapped. Blame is a comfort zone. It's a place where we hide from the responsibility of our own potential. But here's the secret the most successful people understand: power begins with accountability. The moment you stop blaming, the moment you take full ownership of your life, is the moment everything changes. That's right, the same life you've been complaining about can start turning in your favor the instant you say, this is my responsibility and I will own it. Think about it. Every time you blame someone else, you are handing them control over your results. You are giving your power away. But accountability flips the script entirely. It puts the power back in your hands. When you hold yourself accountable, you stop waiting for permission from the world. You stop hoping that circumstances will somehow align in your favor. You stop allowing excuses to dictate your life. And here's a hook for you. People who take accountability don't need luck. They create opportunities. They don't wait for motivation. They generate results. Here's the truth. Accountability is not a punishment. It's not some harsh rule to make life harder. No, accountability is freedom. Freedom to take control, freedom to shape your destiny, freedom to build a life you've always dreamed of, regardless of the obstacles. It starts with a decision to look in the mirror and ask, what part of this situation do I control? What part of this can I fix? Once you answer that honestly, you're no longer a victim of circumstance. You are the architect of why. Our own success. Let me give you an example. Think about entrepreneurs who dominate their industries. Do you think they woke up one day with everything handed to them? No. They took full accountability for their results. They accepted that failures, setbacks, and losses were not someone else's fault. They were opportunities to learn, to pivot, and to grow stronger. And here's another hook. When you hold yourself accountable, fear of failure disappears. Why? Because failure stops being a final destination and becomes a teacher. Every misstep becomes data. Every mistake becomes a stepping stone. And every challenge becomes proof that you are actively in charge of your life. Accountability also demands honesty, and honesty is the bridge between stagnation and growth. You cannot grow while living in denial. You cannot reach your potential while sugarcoating reality. When you face your own actions, your habits, and your choices with brutal honesty, you unlock clarity. Clarity about what's working, what's not, and where your focus must be. That clarity is powerful. It allows you to prioritize, to execute, and to push past obstacles that once seemed insurmountable. And here's the thing most people don't realize. Accountability multiplies results exponentially. One person taking full ownership of their life has more impact than 100 people waiting for someone else to fix their problems. So I want you to consider this. How different would your life be if you stopped blaming and started owning everything in your world? What opportunities would open if you treated every challenge as your responsibility to solve, every setback as your chance to rise, and every result as a reflection of your effort? Accountability is the engine that drives success. It is the invisible force that separates leaders from followers, winners from whiners, and dreamers from doers. And the incredible thing is, anyone can start today. It doesn't require money, talent, or perfect conditions. It only requires a decision to take full responsibility for your life, your actions, and your results. Once you take that step, everything changes. The excuses lose their grip. Fear loses its power. Momentum builds. And the life you once blamed others for begins to respond to your authority, your effort, and your uncompromising commitment to be accountable. Power truly begins in the moment you own everything, your choices, your actions, and your destiny. Let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable, but listen carefully, because it's a truth most people avoid. How much of your life is being controlled by fear? How often have you held back from taking that bold step, pursuing that big idea, or speaking up for yourself because you were afraid of what might happen? Fear is a powerful enemy, but here's the thing. It only has power when you let it. And here's the hook you need to hear. Action is the antidote to fear. The moment you take action, fear loses its grip, momentum begins, and possibilities start to open that you never imagined. Think about it. Fear is natural. It's a survival mechanism built into every human being. But here's the problem. The world has changed, and fear no longer serves you in the same way it once did. Back then, fear protected you from immediate danger. Today, fear is often nothing more than a mental story, a what if that keeps you small, keeps you safe. and keeps your potential locked in a cage. Successful people understand this distinction. They do not let fear dictate their actions. They feel the fear, but they act anyway. They do not wait for confidence to arrive. They create it through motion. Let me give you a powerful hook to remember. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to move forward in spite of it. Every time you act despite fear, you rewire your mind. You shift your identity from a person who reacts to fear to a person who commands it. And once that happens, you are no longer at the mercy of hesitation. You start creating results, momentum, and opportunities that fear would have otherwise kept out of reach. Think about history's most influential leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. Do you think they achieved greatness because they waited until they felt safe? Absolutely not. Every breakthrough, every empire, every life-changing decision came from someone choosing action over comfort, action over hesitation, action over fear. The key is to understand that fear is inevitable, but inaction is optional. You get to choose who you are and how you respond. The only people truly defeated by fear are the ones who refuse to move when their heart is pounding and their mind is screaming with doubt. Here's a hook that will hit hard. The longer you wait, the louder fear becomes. It grows in your mind, it poisons your confidence, and it convinces you that not trying is safer than failing. But the truth is, not trying is the ultimate failure. Not trying robs you of your purpose, your power, and your potential. Action is the key that unlocks all doors. Every time you do what's necessary, even when scared, even when unsure, you send a signal to the universe, to your mind, and to your life that you are ready for more. Momentum begins to build, confidence follows, and fear starts to shrink. Here's another truth. Most people never grasp action is contagious. When you take the first step, the next step becomes easier. One small decision to act creates a ripple effect that transforms your mindset, your results, and your identity. The person who takes action becomes the person who inspires others, influences their world, and commands opportunities. And here's the final hook. Success does not wait for the fearful. It waits for the bold, the willing, the person who refuses to let fear dictate the terms of their life. So consider this. How much could you accomplish if you refused to let fear control your choices? How different would your results be if you committed to acting immediately, regardless of doubt or uncertainty? Action is the bridge from dreams to reality. Action is what transforms potential into results. And the more you embrace it, the smaller fear becomes, until eventually it is no longer the obstacle. It is merely a signal that you are on the path to growth. Every step forward, no matter how small, is proof that action is stronger than fear, and the life you want is waiting on the other side of that first courageous move. Let me ask you a question. How often do you catch yourself saying, I can't do this, or it's impossible for me? Be honest, because most people do it every single day. And here's the hook you need to hear. Every time you say, I can't, you are giving your power away. You are giving your potential, your future, and your opportunities to someone or something else. But here's the truth. The mind is a problem-solving machine. It is built to find solutions, to create possibilities, to overcome obstacles. The only thing standing in its way is the narrative you feed it. When you shift from I can't to how can I, everything changes. Think about it for a moment. I can't is a dead end. It stops thought, it stops effort, it stops growth. It convinces you that the challenge is bigger than your capacity to overcome it. But when you ask, how can I? You ignite your brain's natural problem-solving abilities. You open the door to creativity, innovation, and possibilities you never imagined. Here's the hook. The universe responds to questions, not complaints. Every time you ask, how can I make this happen? Instead of saying, I can't, you set into motion forces, internal and external, that begin to align in your favor. Consider every success story you've ever heard. Do you think they ever said, I can't? Absolutely not. They asked, how can I make this work? They looked at obstacles and saw opportunities. They saw setbacks and found workarounds. And the most powerful part is this, asking, how can I? Transforms fear, I, into your curiosity, hesitation into momentum, and challenges into stepping stones. It is the mindset of leaders, innovators, and world changers. And here's a hook that will hit hard. The moment you commit to asking, how can I? Your excuses no longer have a place to hide, because every problem becomes a puzzle and every obstacle becomes a challenge waiting for your solution. Here's the truth most people never grasp. Limits exist only in the mind. Circumstances, resources, and obstacles are not walls. They are opportunities to innovate. When you ask, how can I? Instead of saying, I can't, you train your mind to see solutions, not problems. You begin to attract ideas, people, and resources that align with your determination to find a way. And here's the hook. Action always follows mindset. The person who asks, how can I, will take steps, make calls, try new strategies, and refuse to quit until they see results. The person who says, I can't, sits frozen, waiting for luck, waiting for permission, waiting for the impossible to magically become easy. Let me give you another perspective. Every I can't you say is a wall you are building between yourself and your destiny. Every how can I is a bridge you are constructing to reach your dreams. And the amazing thing is anyone can start today. You don't need more resources, more talent, or more connections. You only need the mindset to ask, how can I make this happen? Once that question becomes a habit, your life begins to shift. Opportunities appear where there were none. Solutions emerge when you thought there were only problems. Momentum builds as you discover that the only thing limiting you was your thinking all along. Here's a hook that will challenge you. What could you accomplish if you refused to ever say, I can again? What doors would open if you trained yourself to immediately ask, how can I? In every situation, in every challenge, in every obstacle, the person who lives in the world of how can I is unstoppable because they refuse to accept limitations as final. They turn setbacks into setups, failures into lessons, and problems into profit. And the truth is, this is not just mindset, it is a lifestyle. It is the difference between watching life happen to you and taking control of your destiny with purpose, strategy, and determination. Let me ask you something. How much of your life are you willing to leave on the table because of excuses? Think about that for a second. Every time you say, I don't have time, I'm not ready, or it's too hard, you are stealing from your future self. You are robbing yourself of growth, opportunity, and the kind of success that changes lives. Excuses are not harmless, they are thieves. They don't just delay results, they strip you of your potential and keep you small. And here's the hook you need to hear. The longer you allow excuses to control you, the more life passes by while you stand still. Here's the truth. Most people never admit excuses are easy, but easy comes at a cost. Every excuse is a choice. It is a decision to prioritize comfort over progress, fear over courage, and hesitation over action. And the sad reality is we often don't see the damage until years later. We wake up and realize we've been running in place while everyone else moved forward. We see others achieving, building, and growing while our excuses created invisible walls around our potential. That's the power of excuses. They rob you slowly, silently, and without warning. Think about it. What could you accomplish if excuses were removed from your life? What skills could you develop? What income could you earn? What influence could you build? What freedom could you create? The possibilities are limitless because growth is only limited by action, and action is only blocked by excuses. Here's a hook for you. Every excuse you make is a missed opportunity to become stronger, smarter, and more capable. Every I can't is a pause in your progress, and every delay is a detour away from your destiny. Excuses are not just harmless words, they are chains disguised as comfort, and the only way to break them is to confront them directly. Let me give you a perspective. Most people never consider growth is not passive. It doesn't happen by wishing or hoping or waiting for the perfect time. Growth happens when you stretch, when you push beyond your comfort zone, when you do the things that others are too scared, too lazy, or too comfortable to do. But here's the hook. Excuses are like anchors. They keep you tethered to the familiar while the world of opportunity moves forward. Every time you find a reason why you can't, you're stopping your progress, delaying your results, and limiting your impact. Here's another truth. Growth demands accountability, courage, and relentless action. Excuses destroy all three. They weaken your accountability by shifting responsibility elsewhere. They destroy courage by convincing you the risk is too high. They halt action by giving your mind an easy way out. And the worst part is you often don't even notice. You get used to the slow theft until one day you look back and see how much you could have accomplished if only you had acted. And here's the hook that will shake you. The cost of excuses is greater than the effort required to overcome them. The time, money, and opportunities you think you are saving by not acting are being stolen from your future. Think about the people you admire, entrepreneurs, leaders, world changers. None of them became who they are by finding excuses. They became who they are by refusing excuses, by taking action even when it was hard, by learning when it was uncomfortable, and by stepping into opportunities that scared them. And here's a challenge. Every time you allow an excuse, you choose the easy path, the path of stagnation, the path of mediocrity. But every time you push past it, you move into growth, opportunity, and power. Here's the final hook. Excuses are a silent epidemic in the world. They rob more people of their dreams than failure ever could. But unlike failure, excuses are optional. They only exist if you allow them. And the moment you refuse to give them power, you reclaim what has been stolen. Your growth, your potential, your future. Every time you act despite excuses, you grow stronger. Every time you say yes instead of I can't, you expand your influence. Every time you take responsibility instead of rationalizing, you step closer to the life you were meant to live. Let me ask you something. How many opportunities have passed you by because you were waiting for the right moment, waiting for the perfect plan, waiting until you felt ready? I'll tell you something that will wake you up. The perfect moment does not exist. There is no magical alignment of stars that will make your dreams easy. Waiting is the silent thief of your destiny, and every day you wait is a day your potential goes untapped. Here's the hook you need to hear. Success favors those who act, not those who wait. The moment you stop waiting is the moment your life begins to change. Think about it. Waiting is comfortable because it allows you to delay responsibility. It allows you to pretend that timing or circumstances are the problem instead of your inaction. But here's the truth. Action is the currency of results. Every minute spent waiting is a minute that could have been used to learn, to grow, to earn, and to create impact. Every hesitation, every delay, every I'll do it tomorrow compounds over time, creating a life that is smaller than the one you were meant to live. Here's a hook for you. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to act. Waiting creates fear, fear creates doubt, and doubt creates excuses. And before you know it, your dreams are slipping away while you stand still. Let me give you perspective. Every great achievement in history came from people who refused to wait. They didn't wait for conditions to be perf, ECT. They didn't wait till they had every resource, every connection, or every ounce of confidence. They started where they were with what they had, and they figured it out along the way. That is the essence of power action. The person who starts today, even imperfectly, is already ahead of the person who waits for a mythical moment of perfection. And here's the hook that will hit hard. You are not behind because of lack of preparation. You are behind because of hesitation. Here's another truth. Most people never grasp waiting is seductive because it feels safe. But safety is an illusion. Life moves forward whether you act or not. Every opportunity that passes is proof that hesitation has a cost. And here's the challenge. Waiting may feel comfortable now, but the regret you feel in 5 or 10 years will be far more uncomfortable. Action, even when imperfect, beats waiting every time because action creates learning, momentum, and results. Waiting only creates stagnation, doubt, and the slow erosion of your potential. Let me give you a hook you won't forget. The person who waits is always one step behind the person who starts. The person who waits sees opportunities, but the doer seizes them. The person who waits dreams, but the person who acts lives the dream. And the remarkable truth is, starting is never as difficult as your mind makes it seem. One step, one call, one decision, one action, and momentum begins. That first move unlocks clarity, confidence, and courage that waiting can never give you. Think about the times you hesitated in your own life. How many ideas, opportunities, or breakthroughs never happened because you were waiting? Now imagine a life where waiting is no longer part of your vocabulary. Imagine a life where instead of asking, am I ready? You ask, what can I do right now? That shift is powerful. That mindset turns fear into action, hesitation into momentum, and dreams into results. Here's the hook. The world doesn't reward potential. It rewards action. The universe responds to movement, not intention. The person who starts even imperfectly is already winning. Here's another truth. Every great success begins with a single imperfect step. Waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect conditions, or the perfect timing is an excuse disguised as strategy. Action, on the other hand, creates clarity. Action teaches. Action opens doors. And every time you act, you build confidence, skill, and momentum. That's why the person who stops waiting and starts doing is unstoppable. They don't allow fear, doubt, or hesitation to rob them of their future. Finally, here's the hook that changes everything. The life you want is not waiting for you to feel ready. It is waiting for you to act. Every day you wait is a day your potential is being wasted. Stop waiting. Start doing. Start now. One action, one decision, one step, and you are already ahead of 90% of the people who are still waiting. Momentum begins the moment you choose action over hesitation, and from that moment forward, everything changes. So today, I challenge you, examine your life and identify your excuses. Write them down, face them, and then crush them. Stop letting not enough or too hard control your destiny. Remember, power is already inside you. It's waiting for your permission to shine. But it can only shine when you stop holding yourself back. Stop the excuses, step into your power, and watch the life you were meant to live unfold before your very eyes.